Hi, I'm Heyward Cathcart with Guild Mortgage Company here in Columbia, South Carolina.
And I'm Jason King with J. King Real Estate. And we're here to talk about what it takes to buy your first home. So what are the basic credit guidelines for buying a home?
I think that the credit guidelines in general now are not as bad as a lot of people think they are. There was a change in 2008 with the financial crisis, and it got a lot harder. And then since then, it's sort of started to get a little bit less stringent, I guess. Your credit scores can dip down as low as 580 on some programs. There's others that are really flexible on your debt-to-income ratios and just how much you have to put down in general also.
So better credit score to better loan they can get?
Generally, yeah, the better your credit score, the better your interest rate, or just the more programs you'll have available to you. Outside of some, like first-time home buyers have some special programs too.
So what kind of incentives are there for first-time home buyers?
There's still a lot of good ones. There's one of the most popular ones is through the State Housing Authority, the State Housing Loan, which will give you a grant you can use for your down payment. Guild actually does more of those here than any other mortgage company. And then there's a new one that we do a lot of called the LIFT grant, which is up to $7,500 you can use to help out with your down payment and your closing costs.
So if someone's looking to buy a home, what's the first step they need to do?
Well, the first step is to call a real estate agent, and then hopefully the real estate agent will tell you to call a lender to get pre-qualified. And that pre-qualification is usually over the phone. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. It's going to be a credit check, talking about your income, how much you want to put down, and from there a lender will tell you kind of what program you're going to be in and what price range you can go look for. And speaking of that, when we have that conversation, a lot of times one of the questions that would-be buyers ask us is what's important to look for in a real estate agent, or why is it important to have a real estate agent?
I think that it's a very complicated process buying a home, and if they're already pre-approved, it makes it so much easier. But you need an agent to help negotiate and represent you on your side, and to walk you through that complicated process and make it as easy as possible as we can. What kind of guidelines have changed since 2008? At first, in 2008, it got really, really stringent and sort of went back to the way guidelines were decades ago. And then now it's kind of come back to where some of the big buzzwords right now are like student loans, because there's so much student loan debt out there in the marketplace that different mortgage programs have gotten more worried about the effect of that on a buyer's ability to buy a home. There are still some that are really flexible and will let you use a lower payment to verify on the student loans. Most of them want to use 1%. Another thing that's changed is self-employment income. That years ago was always you had to have 2 years history of self-employment. Yeah, and then it's kind of come back to where there's some programs, conventional programs especially, where you can get away with 1 year of self-employment history. So there's a lot of little things and it's constantly changing. The market's constantly changing right now. If someone's out there shopping around for a home loan, how do they compare lenders, know which one's better than another?
That's a great question. So I think there's really 3 things. First, you want to make sure that your lender is local, and that's not just who you speak with when that answers the phone, but you want to make sure they process locally, they underwrite locally, and they close locally, because that gives them a lot of control over the transaction. You can move a lot faster when everything's happening in the same building. The second thing is you want to make sure that they are accessible, that when you call, they're going to answer the phone. And then the third thing is, and this is kind of a technical term, but you want to make sure they're what's called a direct lender. And what that means is that there's no third party that gets involved with the underwriting or the funding. So a lot of mortgage companies will fund a loan through another entity, like a large bank or something like that. So at some point in the process, they have to ship that file off for somebody else to look at it. And with that can come increased time and more conditions that a borrower would have to provide. Whereas when you're direct, again, it goes back to being able to move quickly and have control over the transaction. I think those are really the 3 big ones.
Everything in-house.
Yeah, it's a good question. All right. So the same question to you. What do you think is important when someone's choosing an agent?
I think they're kind of similar. You want to have someone that's here locally, that knows the market, that knows the local area. You want someone that, if they have a question, they can pick up the cell phone and get you on the weekends, get you after hours. And someone that is going to listen to you and help you with your needs versus wants, and really go out there and negotiate on your behalf and help you find that right property. I want to thank Guild Mortgage for having us out here, for filming this and telling all the first-time home buyers out there the important steps on the lending guidelines.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today too, Jason.
Thanks. Sounds good, Heyward.